What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Coaching. I got my coffee. You have your tea or something?
I have some water. So I'm good. I already had coffee. It's 11 o'clock here.
So what's happening? How are you?
Not much. Doing good. Busy. It's a really busy fourth quarter starting here in Jersey. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Tell everybody just kind of a little bit about yourself, kind of where you're at. I mean, you're an absolute rock star, and just crushing it with production. But give a little background.
Okay, so I'm Mary Murphy. I'm in New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia, and I've been in real estate for 5 years. It'll be 6 years in January. Before that, I was a teacher, teaching kindergarten special needs. And when I put my second kid in daycare, I was making like $1,000 a month and was super miserable. So I decided to sell something. There's really no grand thing on how I got into real estate, but I just figured I would sell the most expensive thing, which is houses. So that's kind of how I got where I am now. So it's been a really fun ride. Yeah.
So this year we sold more. What have we've accomplished selling more in a month than what you made in a year?
Yeah.
Prior to.
So I've doubled what I've made in a year in 1 month, actually.
1 month. That's right. That's what we were shooting for, because we had already hit it. We hit the double in 1 month what you were making teaching.
Made this year was the first time I ever made in a day what I made in a year.
That's right.
Right. And my first year, it's funny because I always measure everything around that, right? So my first year, I got licensed in January of 2015. And then July and August of 2015, I had made as much money as I had made as a teacher in those 2 months. And I was like, oh my God, like I was really planning on doing this part-time. I had no idea the world that I had just jumped into when I had gotten into it. So then now it's like, I feel like I'm always looking at I'm always comparing back to that and just thinking like how blessed we are in this industry and how I could never go back. I couldn't afford to go back if I wanted to.
No. So what was the reason to get into real estate? What was it?
So just it was financial, and it was just like, I wasn't happy. Like I was teaching, which we do all these personality things, right? In real estate, and we talk about where we fit, and I don't fit as a kindergarten special needs teacher. I mean, I loved those kids, but that was not the right fit for me. So I really wasn't happy. I was working in a really poor district in Philly, driving over the bridge every day, and I had 2 babies in daycare. And my husband was doing well enough that we didn't need me to do that. So I'm like, well, I'm going to just make a little bit of money. Like in real estate, I'll sell a couple houses, whatever. I'll do that on the side. Actually, I first started looking into like Pampered Chef or like, what can I do to not do this anymore? So that was kind of how it ended up. But right when I graduated real estate school, so it was only a 3-week class, but right when that happened, my husband, Brian, got laid off from his job. So this job that was going to be just this part-time kind of fun thing while I was a stay-at-home mom, it became important to me to actually make money at it. And I knew that I only had that year to figure it out and at least make as much as I made as a teacher, or I was going to have to go back. And I knew that I didn't want to go back. So that's kind of really the story around it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know when I clicked that careers tab on remax.com, because that was the first thing I did when I decided, I'm like, how do I do this? What does that even look like? I had no idea how it got paid. I didn't realize what this really was, and how it would just open a whole world to me to be around the people that I had never been around before. And it's really like my people are here. And I didn't know that until I had gotten into it, So it was really just a really wild, exciting ride from the very beginning. And it hasn't changed. It's still that way.
When did you know? When was that moment like, yeah, this is it?
So I think really early. So what's funny is the Remax broker, basically. So I clicked careers.com, a recruiter called me, and I met this Remax broker. And I had no idea about anything. I mean, he couldn't even have given me the time of day. Like he was kind of like this. She just came in, she's a teacher, she's not going to make it. I remember him telling me 95% of people don't make it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's an exciting thing to tell someone.
Wait to get me excited.
Can't wait to work with you. So he told me that, but then he started telling me about the different brokerages, and he had mentioned Keller Williams, and he called it a cult. And when he said that, I've always been someone good at reading between the lines. So I'm like, oh, that means no one leaves. Like, why doesn't anyone leave? Well, I didn't know what Keller Williams was. So I Googled it and started looking, and I just started finding all these videos and all these I had read the entire Bold, if you know that, like Bold and Ignite, like manuals. Like I found them online. So I got really deep into digging into it. So I would say I started to feel it before I even started school. But while I was in real estate school, I had continued trying to follow people and watch people and listen to things. So I started off kind of really motivated. And it was lucky I was January. So the first sales meeting that I had gone to at Keller Williams, they announced the Rookie of the Year. So I was like, well, I don't know what that is. And she won a trip to Family Reunion, which was like the big conference for Keller Williams. And she was going away and she had won. And I'm like, well, I don't know what that is, but I'm winning it this year. And that became a really big driving factor for me. And I blew it away. I mean, I definitely won. And then I got to go to the first conference. And I could give you a million times where it opened my mind, but going there and seeing the people on that stage and what they were doing and what they were making, and it was like, well, I'm going to be on that stage. And now I don't have the goal to be on that stage anymore, but I have the goal to be good enough to be on that stage. Right. So, that's kind of part of it. So there was just so many different ways, and it's really never been about selling houses. That's the funny thing. I love selling houses and I help people get to their next step, but it's really not about that. It's not really even about the money. The money's great, but, so I don't know if that answered your question, but there's been a lot of times that it's just been confirmed and reconfirmed just throughout the years, and it happens every day.
Were you a good student?
I was a decent student. I'm really good at what I love. And then I'm really good at leveraging what I don't.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of been that way. But I'll get it done. Like whatever you give me to do, I'm going to do it well because that's important to me.
Study a lot?
No. I think I'm a fast learner. So I wasn't really, no, I hated to study.
Yeah. You said,
but I would do well. I could always do well enough.
Yeah. So I was just curious.
I wasn't a straight A student or anything like that.
Okay. Gotcha. Cause you were just like devouring, content like crazy while going to, getting your license. So I was just like, I wonder if she was
that, but I think I'm that way. I'm all in when I'm all in.
Right.
And I'll follow. I'm not a great rule follower. Like I will always bend the rules a little bit, but if I'm really into something and it's important to me, then I'll learn everything there is to learn about it. And that's kind of how I've always been. And that's how I am now. And that's how I was with real estate. Gotcha.
So what is the driving? So what's the driving force right now? I mean, you said, be good enough to be on that stage, which you are. So what is that driving factor for you?
There's so many. I mean, I just think it's something that I just love it. Like, and I love getting better at it. And I just feel like even last night I went to dinner with a bunch of women who are just rock star agents, and just even being surrounded by those people, like they're my people. And in order to be surrounded by the people that I want to be surrounded by, I really want to be part of that and one of them. So that's a driving factor. I like to win. So I just feel, it just feels good. Like that competitive nature that I have. I also like helping people. And I realize that I know how to do this better than most people, right? Yeah. It's a natural talent. And it's also a learned talent because I spend a lot of time on it. So, and then the money's great, and so. For sure. Yeah. So there's a lot of driving.
There is. And you kind of a teacher at heart, piece there, which I know is a passion of yours as well. But, getting in, with KW, signed up for coaching right away. Did you get sucked into all of their programs? What was kind of that process for you?
Well, I was a definite straight A Keller Williams student. I'll tell you that. So I ended up, one of my first conversations with the team leader at the time was, he asked me, I don't even know if my license was in yet. I mean, I was going to the classes and I was still waiting for my license to come in. That's how motivated I was. But I remember talking to him and he asked me how much I wanted to make my first year. And I said $100,000. And I felt a little embarrassed when I said that, but I meant it. And I also, I knew that wasn't something that everyone did. So he was like, okay, well then you need to surround yourself with people who are making that and more. And I knew that already, but when he said it, I'm like, right, but how am I going to get them to want to spend time with me? right? Like, how do I do that? Even though I was the first one in the office, like I took bold is a really intense like boot camp type thing. I took that 2 weeks license. So I was 2 weeks in the business and I'm in this, that was like a big shock for me too. But I joined a team. So I figured, okay, I want to be around these people. I want to see how it's done. I also know there are so many moving parts to this and I can't learn all of it at once. So let me just figure out how to sell and then I'll learn the rest of it. So I joined the top team in the office as a buyer's agent. I did that in 6 weeks.
Do you think that was the right move?
Yeah, I really do. You know, I think it was the accelerated move. I think there was some times that I've made wrong moves and I could have made changes sooner than I did at times. But yeah, I really do think that was the right move because I was able to really learn the language of sales, how to get people, how to connect with people. Also taking bold and like doing all those things right up front. I really believed that everyone did it that way. Like I really believed that everybody went in and prospected in the morning and that everybody like did buyer consultations and had people sign buyer agency agreements and sold houses that you would never show more than 5 houses. Because once you showed more than 5 houses, like you were doing a bad job. So I believed all this stuff, like everybody did that. Then I learned over time that I was like, oh my gosh, everyone doesn't do that. Like that's like the ideal thing to do. That's not what everyone does. But it was the right thing. I sold 37 houses at my first year.
That's awesome. I think, that's really, Kinder and I used to have, debates on this, and he's come over to mine and Al's side of the fence that I really believe anybody new getting into the business needs to get on a team just to, like you said, just to learn how to sell, right? Just to be in that capacity. And you can learn all the other components instead of trying to learn it all at one time. And so I agree. I think that was absolutely the right move for you.
Well, and I think that there are 2 things around that. One, you got to join the right team. You have to join people who are producing and know what they're doing and have the systems and stuff in place, which I was lucky to do. Well, kind of. I was like their first. They were partners, and then I was like their first, and so they learned a lot with that too. I think we all learned a lot that year. But I think if you have the right mentorship, maybe you don't have to do that right away. But I don't know. I believe in teams because there's too many parts of the real estate transaction and that you couldn't possibly be good at all of them. Your strength alone can't be all of them. So 100%. If you understand that, then being a solo agent would never make sense.
Right.
So be on a team or build a team, but a solo agent, I mean, how could you possibly be good at every facet of this business? I know that I'm not. And just because I had a conversation with her this morning. She's a solo agent, but she has a TC, and she has an agent that will do showings for her, right? So it's not a team, but she has that leverage and she does what she's really good at and she doesn't mess with the stuff that she's not. So I think it 100% is the way to go. So rock and roll in KW, first year, 37 deals. Then what? Then I realized that I didn't want to only do buyers, right? Because I was working 1 million hours and I realized I was on a 50-50 split and I was only working buyers and that wasn't the way. So at first it was like, do I become a lead buyer's agent? Because that's what it looks like in the Red Book, which I thought that was the only way to do anything was the Red Book. That's how you did it. That exact model was it. There was nothing else. So I hired a coach. I would say when I was 1 year licensed, and it wasn't a MAPS coach yet, but he was also my team leaders coach. Anyway, so I started coaching and I realized that it wasn't the right fit and that partnership wasn't the right fit either. They were having their own struggles.
Gotcha.
So the partnership split and I went with the one. I stayed with him for another year, but that's when I learned how to list. And I learned how to prospect. Like I would just call expireds and I was in at 8:00 in the morning. I wanted to be the first one to call them. And I would just kill it. Like I was so good on the phone. I role played every day because that's what you're supposed to do. And everybody did that, right?
Only if they would.
So I did all of those things and I just realized how to really get listings. And once I started getting listings, I realized that's really where my talent is and what I liked better anyway.
Yeah.
So I did that for another year. And then after that, one of my role play partners was on one of the top teams in the state. And he's a second home market. So that was about an hour and a half for me. So I talked to him. I was talking to him because he was on a team. I'm like, do you ever think about going on your own? What does that look like? And his team leader ended up reaching out to me to do expansion, which I don't know if you guys know expansion. You do. I don't know if anyone listening, but basically I was in a different market. He was in a market that was second homes. So it made sense. I would be his expansion director, which basically a team leader of his team, help him build the team. And then I would I thought we'd have a lot of crossover business, and that I would also be in the luxury market here, because where he was, that second home market was very high end. The problem was they didn't have their stuff together and people weren't using him twice. So I wasn't actually getting that referral business. So that didn't work either. So I did that for 6 months. The thing I learned the best about that though, that's how I really learned how to connect with agents, because I had to talk to agents to try and bring them over. And also we would go around to all the different Keller Williams offices and teach and train. And every time I would do that, I would have so many agents reach out to me and call me and text me. And a lot of them still do that now from those trainings. And I realized how much I loved that. But that wasn't making me any money. And it wasn't going to make me any money. So that wasn't the right move either. So I had to, after 6 months with him, it was like the middle of 2018. I was like, it's time. I got to do it on my own. Yeah. So at that point, I'm selling over 50 houses a year. And I'm doing it, and I always had admin support. And now all of a sudden I'm on my own, and I made this decision pretty quickly because I realized that wasn't the right fit. And once I've made a decision about something, I'm really analytical in a way, but I'm really fast. So once I figure it out, then it's done. I can't keep doing what I know is wrong. So it took me 2 seconds. I was done, off the team. Then I realized that I'm selling 50 houses a year, and I've never written a contract in my life. And I'm like, I gotta learn. I'm like, oh my God. So that was a little painful. I had to figure that out. And then I hired an admin shortly after that. And that's kind of where I'm still kind of building that part and getting that foundation right, and failing every day at figuring that out. But
so a couple key principles in there that I've seen, with really successful agents over the years, starting out on a team, getting coaching really quick, getting a role play partner immediately. Like those are just like key success traits in this business that everybody listening in need to make sure that you're checking those boxes. With the coaching, how was that?
So the coaching, I'll never not have a coach. I will never not have a coach, because even I've had a lot over the years, because after I left that last team, the coach that I was coaching with, he wasn't the right fit. He wasn't a trained coach, really. It just wasn't the right fit. So I moved over to MAPS coaching. And that was very different. It was very high accountability. And I'm a pretty accountable person as it is. Yeah. But it was very high accountability. And also just you have to reflect on your week every week. And that's one of the main things about it. And then a lot of times coaching, it's really not telling you what to do. It's asking the right questions so that you self-discover. Mm-hmm. So over the years, I've had different coaches, and they've been helpful or not helpful, but they've always been helpful. Some have been better than others. Let me rephrase it. I'll never not have one, because even just that self-awareness every single week and the questions that are asked where you're just kind of like, all right, this is the right thing. There's been times you're coaching me now. There's been times where I'm like, I'm done looking for an ISA. Like I'm not going to do it anymore. And then it's like, well, what's the goal? Like, why are we doing that? I'm like, you're right. I'm not done. But like, but like just talking it out. Yeah. Talking it out with someone who understands the right questions to ask just makes all the difference.
Yeah, knowing where you're at, knowing the struggles, knowing kind of what you're going through, and then also, knowing where you want to go, right? That's kind of what we always talk about. Where are you at, right? Current reality, and where's the destination? Where are we trying to get to? And then what's what are all the ways to get there? And that allows you to maintain your happiness, right? To stay happy along that process. So you're rocking and rolling at KW in MAPS coaching, trying to figure out the back end side of things, and going through that piece. So what was that, 18, 19 timeframe?
That was the middle of like 2018.
Middle of 2018?
Yeah. So I'm like 3.5 years in, I think.
Okay.
Right. So that's where I am at that point. And I'm selling a lot. I'm a master at prospecting. Like I can convert leads. Like I think I'm one of the best people. Like I'm really good at that. It's one thing I'm proud to say. So I can do that, but I'm bogged down. Like I really couldn't do everything that needed to get done. And I'm really hard on myself too. So it's always like, I don't know. So I ended up going on my own. I knew I had to hire an assistant right away. I knew that. So I defined the right one. So I did hire one. She seemed like the right fit. I used the whole career visioning. I told you I was an A+ student at Keller Williams. So career visioning, red book, admin first. Then you're supposed to hire a second admin, which I didn't agree with that. So I didn't do that. And then because the buyer business, I wanted nothing to do. People would call on my listings and I'm like, I don't even care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even care. So I hired an admin and she was pretty good. She wasn't the right fit. I ended up turning her into it. So this is where the mess of 2018-19 came in. Hire an admin, wrong fit. At the same time, I hire an agent and the admin's the wrong fit. And now I have an agent. The admin wants to be an agent and I can't stand her as an admin because she's not the right fit as an admin. So I needed her out of that seat immediately because once I make a decision about something, I have to do it. So I send her to real estate school. She becomes an agent. I hire a second admin. I hire a Keller Williams recruiting company who's supposed to be the best, and they can help me with the career visioning. Because if you know anything about career visioning, it's very time consuming. It's like 5 interviews. They're hour long. Like it's really, really intense. And it's so much. And then when they're not the right fit, like you're extremely frustrated because you've spent so much time. So then I hired a recruiting company. They helped me find the second agent or the second admin, and she wasn't the right fit either. So now I have 3 buyer's agents, a second admin. I'm on track to do 20 million and sell 80 houses. That's like 2019. And she doesn't want to do this job because it's a lot of work because I'm throwing a lot on her plate. She's not trained. She came from the law industry. Like she's a law assistant. I have no time to train her. I have 3 buyer's agents that I have no time to train either. And I was losing my mind. So she leaves, hire a third admin who I should never have hired. And I'd interviewed her for a year knowing that I shouldn't have hired her. I liked her. She wasn't the right. It was just a mess. So now I have all these agents, admins that aren't working out. My last quarter of 2019, which is how I ended up here, which my last 2 quarters of 2019, because of that mess, I just watched my business just go down. Like, I mean, I think I had like 2 closings in December of last year because I wasn't prospecting anymore. I'm trying to coach agents who aren't really selling. It was just a lot. And I was doing a bad job on the customer service end too. So just being real, like I just wasn't doing a good job. Like I just felt like, and I was never more stressed ever. You know? So that's when I finally was really looking at my business and wondering if I was following the right model. Was this the right model for me? Was I doing the right things? And Jen, who is my assistant now and doing great, she was an agent then. And I remember the conversation where I was like, this is the worst day of my life. Like, I've got to put 2 listings in. I've got to do a contract. I have a listing appointment to prep for. Like, I literally hate my life. She's like, I want to do all that. And I never want to do an open house again. I'm like, okay, done.
You're hired.
You're hired. And here's like a whole bunch of work. And so that was last year. I think that's been about a year. And that's where we are now. Jen's still as my admin. And then my husband has joined me now at this point too.
Yeah. So talk, you have her there, then, kind of what opened your eyes to, starting to look for maybe I'm not at the right place. Maybe there is a better way.
So through everything, I've never stopped reading. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I read and I watch. And I've gone with Keller Williams. I had gone to every single national event, every single regional event, and nationally, and really Gary Keller would talk about EXP all the time at every single one of these events, and I was always one to read through. I mean, I ended up at Keller Williams because of a RE/MAX broker, right? So the same kind of principle where I was like, well, what is going on there? And why are these people leaving? Someone like Dan Beer or Dave DeVoe, I had seen them speak at Keller Williams, at these big Keller Williams events. And now all of a sudden they're not there anymore. And I'm like, that's weird. Why would they leave? So that was kind of what started. I was just looking at it. I wasn't really interested. I wasn't going to leave. And then a couple people left my office. They didn't go to EXP. They went different places. And one convinced me to talk to Berkshire Hathaway, which I did. And that wasn't the right fit. But I think just starting to open my mind to maybe this isn't the only way. Because I was pretty much, my mindset was, this is the only way. You will read every Keller Williams book. You will go to every Keller Williams training. You will do exactly their model. And all of a sudden I was like, wait, there's actually people like that aren't Keller Williams that are killing it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's what started to open my eyes to it. The one guy that I love, Greg Harrelson.
Yep.
I always listen to his podcast, and he's Century 21. And I was always like, well, why isn't he Keller Williams? So
Right.
that was kind of where I started to question it, was people weren't here. And so then I just wanted to know what the other models looked like. And at that point, I had failed at really trying. No one tried harder to follow it the right way, I don't think. And I just felt like I felt like I was starting over again. So it was the beginning of 2020. Even before that, I had reached out to Jay in March of 2019 because I looked up EXP. He was a face that I kept seeing. I didn't know him at all. And I was like, I'm just going to go to the top. Like, I want to know what's going on. Yeah, so I'm just going to go straight there. And so I talked to him for back and forth for about, I don't know, from March till I came over in February of 2020.
Yeah, so almost a full year. What was it that finally was like, okay, I have to make a move?
I think it was when I looked back on 2019 and I didn't hit my goals and I felt like I was starting over. So now I'm starting over. I'm still in MAPS coaching, and I'm realizing that the coach that I had at the time wasn't the right coach. And when I looked around me, I know there's really amazing people, and I don't have anything bad to say about Keller Williams. I do think it's a really amazing company, and there's amazing people there. But when I looked around me, no one was doing it how I wanted to do it. Like, I had these visions of building this big, big business. And there are people at that company that have businesses like that, but they weren't in my market. I didn't know how to access them as much. And I just didn't hit my goals. I just started to question everything. And because I was questioning everything, I had to learn everything. So then once I really learned what it looked like here, I was like, well, I mean, that's just better. And I'm going to tell you something else. I had another conversation. So I went to Mega Camp, which is another one of their big events in August of 2019. And I asked one of the big leaders there, because I would spend at those events, like, I wasn't with my market center. Like, I was with whoever was killing it that I wanted to be next to. I always knew about being next to the people who were doing it in a big way and that they'll share with you. So that's who I was with. So I was with a mega owner of Keller Williams, and I asked him, like, how do you get there? And he said to me, how do you become an early adopter of Google? And I'm like, well, you can't, right? You can't go back. You can't be an early adopter. And then I started to look at, that's another thing I was looking at, was who were the most successful Keller Williams people in my area? They were all early adopters, all of them. And so there was that. And then there was this beautiful model that I was looking at here. And I was like, but there is no one here. I'm like, well, there was no one there either. So that's it. That was really kind of the epiphany I would say that I had.
That's awesome.
And then I met Jay in person. And he's talking about someone who knows how to ask good questions. Like, he's someone who asks good questions. And I think it's me anyway. I'm unleashing everything here. I just kind of told him everything. And I was just like, you know what? This just makes sense. And so it took me, we had dinner on a Monday. And I think I came over the following Thursday.
Yeah. I want you to share how Jay got you. What was the question that he asked?
So I think I said something like, that I was happy at Keller Williams or whatever. And he's like, okay, well, explain it to me. He wanted me to explain the model.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I can't. And then he brought up to me the book Principles, which this is probably like in the summer. I still didn't come over till the following March, but he was like, have you read this book? And are you open-minded? And it was like, well, yeah, of course. I always say that I'm open-minded. I am open-minded, but like, I'm not leaving here ever because this is the best company ever. So I am open-minded, except I'm never leaving. I read that book, and then I think the question was just like, explain it to me. And when I realized I couldn't, I realized I had to learn it. And when I learned it, once I understood what it looks like here, and I'm not here to sell it. That's not my personality. Yeah. When I looked at it, I was just like, I mean, that's just better. And that was it. I think he just asked me to explain it. And when I knew that I couldn't, I'm like, well, let me learn about it. And I knew that I had to know about everything. You can't be at the top. It's okay if you make the decision and the decision's no, but you can't make a decision no if you don't know what you're saying no to.
Right.
You have to know what you're saying no to. So it's like, all right, let me look into it, and then I'll say no. I looked into Berkshire Hathaway. I learned what that model was. I understood what they were giving me, and what they were giving me was a loan, and that wasn't going to work. Like, so I had to say no to that. And I knew that if I left Keller Williams, I couldn't be anywhere that I wouldn't cap. I have to cap. I don't care what percentage they were going to give me. I had to cap because I know my growth trajectory and where I want to go. And so it has to be scalable.
That's awesome.
And there was scalability here, more than scalability here. And I knew that like the icon, I knew that I was going to icon. Like I just didn't understand why I wouldn't be here, I guess.
Yeah.
It just didn't, I couldn't answer the question on why I wouldn't come. That was it.
Right.
So
right. I mean, that's a great nugget for everybody listening in. You know, you're having conversations, you know, that's how, just explain the model to me, right? Mm-hmm. Explain it. And, you know, let's talk facts, right? And let's do the math and, you know, the data, let the math tell the story. And, you know, I think the other thing too, you know, you knowing where you want to go, right? I know we've already mentioned that, but that's so incredibly important to have that awareness and knowing what you're wanting to build, because I see a lot of people, you know, they just make short-term decisions, right? You know, just on short money. They're not thinking long-term, right? And so that's just an important get. So you make the move March timeframe.
So yeah, it's like February. And so February I come over and there's nobody here. So that was the one thing. So that was the other thing that my biggest objection to was I'm like, I'm not going to go to EXP where all anyone does over there is recruit and no one sells any houses. But then I'm like, wait, but then I'm looking at all these names of people who sell like literally thousands of houses a year. But I came over, I would say, in February, right before COVID. So I'm someone who's always worked from an office, had an office space there. And my husband
just made a move. Now you're on lockdown.
Now, like, which is the worst thing to do to me. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not someone who can sit still. I don't know how to be locked in. And I didn't really believe in that strategy either. So I was like, this is jail. Like, I felt like I'd just been put in jail. And now I'm like, and I'm virtual and I'm working from home and my kids are home and my husband just joined me. So now we're all home. And March was a struggle too, because I had a few transactions fall apart. So I didn't know what was going to happen. It's really scary when your entire business is this. It's real estate. You know, I mean, I know people who had gone through it obviously in 2008, but I wasn't here then. I didn't get licensed until 15. So I was really scared. So that was kind of where I started in this business. And also I've always had training and in person and going to conferences and all that was ripped away. I've still never met any of you guys in person besides Jay, because we haven't been able to, like, but I would have been at how many events by now. So
I know
it was luckily though, although it was really a big struggle, I feel blessed that I had come over because that was going to happen to me no matter what company I was at. And at least because I was here, I was already set up to deal with it. I already had a home office in place. I already knew how to work virtually. And I was around people who knew how to do that. So I could follow all you guys and watch your trainings. And it was really helpful to get me through it. And it was short-lived. You know, it was short-lived, really. I mean, I still killed it. Like, so March and April weren't as good as they were going to be, but I'm making up for that now. And you know, it was fine, but it was definitely it was a crazy time to have joined a new company for sure, especially when you have no one local. I still don't really. Yeah.
So what, because I think this is key for everybody listening in, you know, that still may be struggling with that a little bit. What were some of the things for you that really helped you kind of navigate through those waters during that, you know, that couple month period?
So it's just really, what are the benefits? Where's the silver lining? One of the silver linings was I could take my broker's class through Zoom. That was never offered before. So I'm like, all right, so I want to get my broker's license anyway. I don't know when I'll ever have time to do it. So I took my broker's class through Zoom. And then we had some really cool events, like training events. So I did a lot of those. And I just kept on the course of making prospecting calls and understanding what this market looked like and the benefits, even for the people who wanted to sell and buy. I mean, we're still, COVID's scary, but we still have the lowest interest rates that we've seen as a buyer. And for a seller, we have really, really low inventory and some buyers need to move. So I just had to understand and pivot, right? How do we do it? How do we do this virtually? I figured out how to do it virtually. Like, I had plenty of virtual listing appointments. So I got my broker's license through Zoom, figured out how to do virtual listing appointments, planned a whole clean home initiative for my sellers so they could feel safe still selling. I did virtual showings and virtual tours, and I sold houses still. I was selling houses during that time. You just had to figure out how to do it differently and how to navigate the emotions of everyone else. You really can't give into your own emotions. You can't ever. I really try not to do that. So I had a really hard, the last 2 weeks of March, which was when it first happened, were my hardest too. And then I had to pick myself up and figure it out. And I did. And we're still going to do really well. Like I'll sell around the same amount as I did last year. So it's about 72 houses. That's what I'll sell. In the meantime, I got my broker's license and I'm in the process of opening an office. Yep. So it just didn't let it slow me down.
I think that's
none of us did. And I think that's the other thing is that we're all connected virtually all the time and none of us let it slow us down. Right. So the energy that we have also pulls you through it. So no one's a victim. There's no victim. None of us are sitting around crying that we're all going to be broke. No one was doing that. It was all like, all right, this is different. How are we going to work this out? Yeah. Let's work it out. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we're doing it.
And those that embrace that mentality, we call it honey badger mentality, and really embrace that are having some of the best months and the best quarters of their entire career. And, that's what I saw. Those that did not take their foot off the gas at all are seeing the rewards. They gained mind share, and now they're gaining the market share because of those efforts during that time. And it's really, really cool. Really cool to see as well. You said something in there I was going to make you go a little deeper with. It'll come back to me. This is a small room, so it'll come back around. Okay, cool. So you're rocking. Things are well. What's on the horizon, right? What's the priorities? What are we focused on into 21?
Yeah. So one thing I would say that I've learned a lot just over the past, just since being here, and also learning from you guys, because you guys kind of follow a different model too, is that every team is not the same and what your needs aren't always the same. So for me, we discovered together and with talking that I don't have the time to be prospecting all the time, right? So I don't want to do that. I'm a great converter, but I don't want to be the one digging for those hot leads. I don't want to find them. You send them to me and I will convert them, but I don't want to find them anymore. So I need to find someone who can help me do that. So right now we're looking for an ISA. It's a very specific hire. I know that I'm a couple hires away from just exploding my business. I feel it. I know that I'm there. And it's a really hard spot to be in, especially if you're me, because I'm impatient. I want to hire them all tomorrow. But so right now it's hiring the ISA piece because I'm someone who built my business without having a real database. It's been a prospecting based built business for sale owners and expired listings and converting leads that come in. Like these are strangers. Most of my business now I'm getting those referrals. They're strangers. And then I do a lot of agent referrals because I'm really good at connecting with agents. So on the horizon is first an ISA. If I can get that piece somewhat off my plate, if I can share that piece, what happened to me last year won't happen again. What happened to me last year was I brought the buyer agents on to handle all those buyer leads that were falling by the wayside. But while I was training them to sell 8 houses last year, I lost how many listings because that's what I was focused on. I need to not let that happen again. So the ISA first, and I'm not worrying about the buyers, right? Once that ISA is up and running, then I have enough business to bring on multiple agents who want to work with those buyers. And I can also teach people how to convert this business. I know how to do it. I just want to teach people how to do it. And I don't have the time to do that now. So that's really what's on the horizon is first the ISA, then probably another agent. And I'll probably need to look at another admin. And I need to market. I'm not even marketing. None of this is for marketing. This is all,
it's all hustle.
It's just all hustle. I can do this forever, but I don't want to do this forever.
Right. You know? It is. It's really being intentional, really being strategic, knowing what you want, and then what does the team have to look like to get there, right? And now focus on building that team around you to accomplish, to get you moving in that direction where you want to be. And talking about the honey badger mentality, and I remembered what I was going to say. You talked about no victim, right? And the community being plugged into, right? And so like you look at that in the honey badger nation, like there ain't nobody whining and crying in that group. That's one of the guidelines. Jay will probably kick you out if you do, but it really is a community of strength and a community to really lean in on anything that you're looking to accomplish or the help that you need. And it's amazing, really amazing to be a part of.
It's just solutions based, right? Like it's just solutions based. So that's
Yep.
really, I think, why I love this industry so much. And I know that everyone in this industry is not that way, but the ones at the top, we're all that way.
Yeah.
We're all that way. So it's just like, just that humble, hungry, and smart mentality, right?
Yep.
And everyone's willing to share at this level. Everyone's willing to share. If I go on our Honey Badger group right now and ask a question, I'm going to get DMs from top agents who are telling Nick Good was just yesterday. He saw me post in a different group, not even our group, about ISAs. And he sends me a message on the side. And he wasn't the only one. I had 2 agents reach out to me to tell me what their experiences were with it. Yeah. And they don't get anything out of that, except for the fact that we just have that mentality of wanting to help each other.
Yeah.
So it's great.
What, obviously the biggest difference kind of for you, and I think you've kind of mentioned it and touched on it, but life kind of before, making the move over and life now, different experiences, right? I mean, I think where you started was fantastic. It was right for you, but how much different is it now over, since plugging in, working together? Like, is there anything that contrast that really jumps out at you?
I think that I feel like a business owner more now. Like I really do. Like, I feel like I really have I'm not trying to please anyone else. Like at my other company, I was always teaching classes. I always wanted to help out. And not that I wouldn't do that now. This is basically what we're doing right now.
Right.
But I don't have, I don't know, it just feels like I feel like more of a business owner and I can see the future more. I'm opening an office and I just feel like I'm more plugged in, and I'm plugged into people who have already been where I am. It's kind of funny because even talking to Jay, one of the things he said to me that really stood out was when I told him where my business was, like, that's a painful spot to be in. Like, he's like, you're in that spot right now where you feel like you have no time. He just understood just by me telling him where I was exactly what I was going through. And you too, same thing. Yeah. It's like you're at that spot where, and you guys have those levels. When I read them, it just made sense. Like I'm at that spot where it's like I'm either going to grow my business and get to the point where I'm at that icon level that you have on there, or I'm going to go backwards, because you can't stay where I am for long because it's exhausting.
It is.
And it's just understanding that. So there's just a lot of differences. And I know that I can plug in and find anything that I need. With EXP, there's so much training. And I will say that I don't even take advantage of as much as I could, because we have so much on the side just in our group.
Yeah. You take advantage of what you need at the time that you need it. And I think that's the key takeaway, right? You can, when you've got a problem and you have that awareness, then you go into seek mode, right? You start seeking the solution. And, there's not a situation that hasn't been overcome by somebody in the group, right? That you can really plug into and take advantage of. So it's a fantastic lesson. I loved what you said, really thinking like a business owner, right? Mm-hmm. Looking at it like a business, right? How can I design this business to support the life that you and Brian want to have and want to live, as with it being, what a business is intended to be, right? And mm-hmm. and harvesting as much of the profits out of it to support and grow and build what you guys are wanting to build.
And what does the future look like too? So like, why was I building a team? I was building a team because I knew that I couldn't work these long hours and weekends forever, right? I needed a team around me so that I didn't have to work 1 million hours a week.
Yeah.
So that's why I was building a team. But then coming here, there's other streams. So right now I'm still building a team and the focus hasn't changed. The production is still my number one and that hasn't changed. But in the meantime, like I'm making so much money on stock. Like it is amazing. I can't even stop. It's so exciting to me. And that was, what was funny? That's another thing I shared the other day is one of the things when I was giving Jay objections when he was talking about EXP was I'm like, I really don't care about stock. And he's like, I gave you 2 years and you're going to laugh about that. And I am already laughing about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. Amazing. So these other revenue streams, mean a lot to me now, because while I'm still grinding and building this team and building this business, there's other things that are happening that I'm barely even focusing on, right? Like just by selling houses, I'm the icon now, right? Like that's, I mean, I was
just getting rewarded for what you were already doing, right?
Right, exactly. And it's just a whole second level. So that's a really big difference. And I am focused on that. And I haven't been focused on, we do have the revenue share portion, which Keller Williams has the same thing. I didn't focus on that there, and I'm not 100% focused on that here. But I think people are going to want to come and join me because there was no reason why they wouldn't.
Right.
And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for people to start looking at it because in my area, it's kind of me.
Yeah.
Especially right in my area in Burlington County.
Yeah. And you know, I think the thing, you know, like with you, you know, you do have that, obviously that teacher mentality, you know, in, you know, kind of in your DNA and your core. And so being able to plug in with somebody like you that, you know, is able to provide that type of environment is critical. It absolutely is, being able to be there and support and give the guidance, being able to plug in and let them do the things that they need to do to be successful in this business like you did when you started.
Mm-hmm. And just knowing what to say is so important, I think. And that's what a lot of agents don't. I noticed so many new agents, they don't make it because they don't know what to do. And they don't even know where to plug in.
Right.
And that's the other cool thing about here is that for newer agents, everyone's like, oh, you shouldn't be for newer agents because it's cloud-based. No, it's great for new agents because they can plug into these trainings like the fast starts. And these are being trained by people who really know what they're doing and have lived it and they're icons. Whereas at other companies, the people who are training it is like, who can we get from this office to train this class? And there were times at my other office where I'm like, why is that agent teaching lead generation? Like, they don't lead generate ever. Like, you know, whatever it was just, it's very different here. It's very strategic. And because it's cloud-based, you are connected to people. Like at my level now, there's not a lot of people in my area that I can connect with and learn from. And they don't want to teach me everything anyway because we're competition. But with us, everyone's just an open book.
Yep. It's awesome.
It's just so great. It really is. And I just can't wait until it can go back to normal. And I can even take more advantage of it because I think that I'm missing out on a lot of it because of not being able to
connect.
Yeah, really plug in. I was so bummed when our last mastermind was canceled.
I know, you and me both.
Or what was it? Shareholders.
Yep.
That got canceled. And then it was just like all of them. The one in Texas with Brent Gove and Tony Robbins, that one, they were just all canceled.
Yeah.
So
hopefully
21 will be better.
Back to face-to-face pretty soon, I have a feeling. So it'll be good. Well, fantastic. Well, Mary, I appreciate you jumping in and kind of sharing the struggle and, you know, letting everybody kind of get a glimpse into how you overcame a lot of the things as you've advanced your career in a short period of time. And I know a lot of big things are about to happen. So excited for you.
That's the plan.
Awesome. Cool. Well, appreciate you guys. If you guys need to have any questions or want to connect with Mary, feel free to hit her up. Social media, Facebook. What's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Really, anyway.
Cool.
You know, I always have my phone. You can DM me, email me, call me. I am trained to answer my phone because that's where my business comes from. So just reach out to me. If you have any referrals in Jersey, send them over. Got you.
Got it. Awesome. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode.